Well, hi everyone. It's absolutely fantastic to be here. My name's Heather Gordon and I lead the Enterprise Partner Solutions organisation across our Asia business. It's, as I said, wonderful to be here and to be talking about such an incredibly important topic. I would like to welcome Harrain up onto stage, if you would love to join me. And then a little later on, we're going to have a guest joining us from one of our incredible partners, Japan Business Systems, where we'll be doing a fireside chat. But before we get started, Harrain, would you like to introduce yourself?
Thank you, Heather. Good afternoon. My name is Herain Oberoi. I'm the VP for Data and AI Security at Microsoft. So I kind of wear two hats. One is looking at our Microsoft Purview business. And then my other hat is thinking about what does it mean for customers and partners to secure and govern AI workloads.
Amazing. Thank you. We also want to make sure that we celebrate and call out some fantastic winners. So I'm not sure who's clicking slides. There's no clicker?
There's a clicker right there.
Sorry, we're very prepared. Click, there we go. So we've had, as I said, some absolutely phenomenal winners as we think about data security and compliance. And when we look at the finalists that we had, and if you're in the room, please stand up. Epic, PwC, Cyclotron, and the winner was Increment. So congratulations to those partners. Wonderful job. When we look at the identity category, again, some fantastic finalists in Avanade, Swisscom, and Wipro. And our winner was Defend Limited. So congratulations to those winners. And then lastly, in our security category, the finalists included SNP, Blue Voyant, and Quorum Cyber. And sorry, I got the winners the wrong way around with identity and security. The identity winner was Evoke, apologies for that, and the security winner was Defend Limited. So congratulations for those winners. Harrain, I'm going to pass over to you, and then I'll join back on stage in a little bit.
Thank you, Heather.
Thank you.
So just what I'm going to do is set the stage a little bit in terms of how we're thinking about the products and the use case evolution in terms of securing and governing AI workloads, and then we'll have Heather and the partner come back up and talk about how we're actually seeing that getting implemented, in the real world out there as well. So I'll start with the basics of, we all know that at this point in time, everyone is thinking about agents. When I started to focus on data security, this was about 2 years ago, the conversation was all around copilots. And data security was interesting in that context because everyone was thinking about how do we manage data oversharing and data leaks in the context of using copilots. 2 years later, in fact, probably through this year, the conversation has shifted now from copilots to copilots and agents. And so as you saw in the keynote, that if you went to the keynote yesterday with Judson, we expect to see about 1.3 billion agents deployed by 2028. So everyone's right now figuring out what kind of agents to build, what kind of agents to deploy, what should the granularity of a particular agent be? Should I assign it to a task? Should I assign it to a persona? So we're all working through that change right now. We're living and working through that change. The vision that we have when we think about what it means to be a frontier organization is that we take this notion of our human ambition, the things we need to get done from a business perspective and from an individual perspective, use copilots as our companions, but then use the agent ecosystem as that sort of automated infrastructure behind the scenes that can also go amplify the impact that you could have combined with copilots and agents. Now, as all of this is happening, Judson also mentioned in his keynote that there's this natural tension that's emerging, which is on one hand, you've got this promise of innovation, and then on the other hand, you said, how do we manage all of this? How do we govern all of it? And how do we build it in a way that it's trustworthy? So we say in order for us to unlock the potential of agentic AI, it has to start with trust. And trust starts with security. Security is foundational for that. And so that's where a lot of my passion lies, is how do we help secure and govern AI workloads? That's what I've been spending a lot of my time with customers the last few years, having conversations, learning and understanding what the challenges are. And there's 4 themes that have come up quite consistently. And I'll walk through all of them. The last 3 were the actually came up in 2 years ago. And then the first one is one that's more recent. And I'd love for, after this, if there's things that are not touched on in the context of these themes, I'd love to learn more, because I'm always looking to stress test this and see, did I miss anything? But I'll go through each of them. The first is this notion of everyone's building agents and deploying agents. I've got tons of agents in my organization. I want to know what they are and who's using them and what they're doing with them. So this idea of agent sprawl. And then more importantly, it's not just about what agents are in my organization, but what are the resources that those agents have access to. So that's where the identity and access piece is going to become really, really important. So just like we manage resource access for individual users, we have to think about resource access for agents, and even more so because those agents might be more ephemeral than users. You might have an agent that's in your organization for a few months, and then you might redeploy it to something else. The second one, as I mentioned, is data oversharing and leaks, primarily in the context of not just Copilot deployments, but any GenAI app deployment. I've often had conversations with customers about, we're using Copilot, but we're also using all these other GenAI apps in our organization, and I'm terrified of the prospect of someone copy-pasting confidential information into a prompt, and then that going out into the net without it being managed. So that's an example of data leak. The third is shadow AI threats and vulnerabilities. So just like with worrying about agents and having visibility into the agents in your organization, same thing goes for AI apps as well. And then when we think about threats, we're starting to see some new types of AI-specific threats like prompt injection attacks, model poisoning, and then vulnerabilities. Everyone's worried about your AI supply chain. A lot of people are using models both from open source ecosystems as well as ours. And so how do we make sure that your AI supply chain is free of vulnerabilities and that you can monitor that in real time and make adjustments if you need to? And then the last one has to do with regulatory compliance. One of the privileges of my role is I get to travel everywhere and meet with customers in different parts of the world. And no matter which continent I've been on, the conversation on regulation always comes up. Every country is looking at this closely. There's global, there's sort of regional regulations right now. There's local country-specific regulations happening. And what's interesting about AI regulations is that it's still evolving. It hasn't really settled down. It's not like GDPR or even something like DORA that people have started to implement. It's sort of evolving. We work closely with the regulators to help with. We collaborate with them in terms of understanding what types of controls do we want to have customers think about. And so the change of regulation and how do we manage that change is something that I get a lot of questions on from customers. So these are the four kind of broad themes. And then from a product standpoint, the security portfolio, you can summarize it as these 5 products. So Sentinel as our SIEM or security data lake, Purview as your data security solution, Entra as your identity and access solution, Microsoft Intune as your device management solution, and Defender for threat protection and posture management. And applying all of those capabilities, not just to Copilot, that's when we started, but agents being built with Copilot Studio, or agents and apps being built on Foundry as well. And then, of course, we're making all of that extensible, so we want to make sure that we recognize our customers work in heterogeneous environments. They're not just going to use agents built on our platforms. They're going to be using agents and apps built on other platforms as well. And so how do we have that extensibility approach to make sure we bring in third-party GenAI solutions that includes agents as well? Now, one of the things that's really, I think, interesting about this session is we've been going through this transformation, and everything, as you know, is moving really, really fast. 2 years ago, we had at the time, the Modern Work team working with customers to deploy M365 Copilot, and very quickly it said, we actually need to strengthen the deployment with Purview for that data security support that you need for the deployment. And so we had our security partners working with our Modern Work partners, and in some case, we had our Modern Work partners extending their offerings to security so they can go to market with that combined solution for the customer. And so if you think about that, we're sort of extending that out across our customer solution areas. So what you see is on the columns are our sales plays or solution plays that our partners go to market with. And in the case, I'll start with the right-hand side just because that's an easy example. M365 Copilot is the one we've been doing the longest. That's, that Copilot and agents at work, that is how our AI and business solutions field goes to market. But we also have data security, which is how our security field goes to market. And so our security field works with our AI business solution field to take data security for that M365 Copilot deployment. That same thing then extends now to agents with Copilot Studio. And then with Foundry-built apps and agents, now we have, on the security side, we have a solution play around protecting cloud AI platform and apps. And then we work hand in hand with our Foundry sellers to make sure, and partners to make sure that is. And so the reason I sort of put this up here is because if you're a partner that's either on the Foundry side or the Copilot and Copilot Studio side, know that you have options to extend into the security side of things, because that's what customers want. They want these combined solutions. And similarly, if you're a partner that's on the security side, think about how you might look at some of these opportunities for securing and governing AI workloads as well. In terms of the portfolio itself, because one thing I always like to say is we are in a really unique position because we have hundreds and thousands of customers building AI on our platform and deploying AI that we've built like Copilot. And because of that, we get to listen and hear from them in terms of what are their concerns, what's their feedback, and we can take that feedback and incorporate that as roadmap features into our security portfolio. And so because we've had this virtuous cycle of listening and sort of looking around the corner to see what new features to protect AI we should build, we were the first to really come out with data security and compliance, threat protection, identity and access, and governance for AI, looking at it holistically. And the rest of the market is sort of, I would say, doing a fast follow. But we really have this, I would say, a great ability to see what customers are doing at the bleeding edge of this and then build for that. And then it's across, of course, our Copilots, our apps, as well as our platforms and clouds. Now, one other thing I'll touch on is if you went to the keynote yesterday, one of the big pieces of news is we talked about Agent 365. And I want to contextualize that a little bit in terms of what it means from a customer perspective and what it means from an audience perspective. So when we think about securing agents, securing and governing agents, it's no longer just the job of the security team to worry about this. The IT teams care about this because they're thinking about, the way I onboard and offboard users, I have to onboard and offboard agents. I have to think about the agent's lifecycle. If I'm a developer, I have to think about what does it mean to build an agent and start that agent in a way that's secure so that it can stay secure when I put it into deployment. And so we talk about this set of shared responsibilities. It's teamwork across IT, developers, and security teams. And one of the key concepts that we've been focusing on is this idea of shared security controls. So it doesn't matter if you're a security person, if you're an IT person, if you're a developer, the agent is going to work with the same agent identity. The classification and labeling on the data is going to be the same. And so we want to provide that consistency across whatever different tools are being used across these different audiences. And we want to enable these different teams within an organization to collaborate and work together in order to secure the AI workloads. And so if you think about the announcements that we made yesterday, for IT, it's Agent 365 for who think about agents. For development teams, it's the Foundry control plane. That's where all the security capabilities bubble up. And then, of course, for the security teams, it continues to be Defender, Entra, and Purview. And that's actually an important point, too, because from a product perspective, we made a very deliberate choice not to put yet another product out into the market, but we recognize, based on the feedback you all gave us and customers gave us, that we already use these products, we love these products, we're familiar with them, we've invested in them. Please extend them to meet my needs around the AI workloads. And so what we've been doing is putting a lot of new capabilities into Purview, into Defender, into Entra to support these AI workloads. So that's just to give you kind of a little bit of the picture over there. And then I sort of want to close it off with just a couple of examples. And I wanted to give one example of each type. One is an example of the Purview securing Microsoft 365 Copilot. That's NRI, and so they implemented Purview for large deployment of M365 Copilot. The second one here is around securing agents that were built with Copilot Studio. So this was E&Y that we worked with to help with that particular workload. And again, in this case, you've got 100,000 employees using Copilot globally across that organization. So huge amount of impact over there. And then the last example here is one of Foundry, where it was KPMG that had adopted Foundry to sort of implement custom AI apps built on Foundry and then working with the Microsoft security products to secure those solutions that go up over there. So I wanted to at least set the stage and give you a sense for how we're thinking about the portfolio, how we're thinking about the strategy moving forward, not just from a product perspective, but also a little bit from a go-to-market perspective. I think there's a really huge opportunity here in terms of convergence, in terms of how we traditionally sell our AI business solutions, how we traditionally sell our cloud and AI platform solutions, and how we secure those things from the start. And going back to this notion of trust and security being foundational for trust, we also truly believe that it is a differentiator for us and by proxy our partners to be able to go to a customer and say, not only are we going to help you with your AI transformation, but we're going to do it in a way where we've really deeply, deeply thought through the security implications, and we're working to actually implement that in a way that has security built in from the start. So with that, I'd love to invite Heather and the partner back up on stage to talk about a real-world example of what you've been doing to actually extend this out. So
that's wonderful. Thank you. Great. Thank you. So, Harrain, wonderful, wonderful session. Thank you. Very informative, and certainly some great partner stories, right? Today, we want to make it real for you. You're all partners. You're all probably in different stages of your security journey. And we wanted to, as I said, make it real through a wonderful, wonderful partner example. So with that, I'd like to welcome Naohiro Fukatani-san from Japan Business Systems onto stage. Please come on up. We are going to move the chairs ourselves. This is a do-it-yourself session. Thank you. And we're going to go through just a couple of questions. And what we've done is we've got some slides at the same time, so it's a visual representation of the questions as well, just to help orient you as you go through. But please could you welcome yourself and introduce yourself and your organization.
Hi everyone, my name is Naohiro. I'm from Japan. Actually, currently I live in LA. I'm working at a company in JBS USA. So quickly give you some introduction of our company. So our company, Japan Business Systems, is a long name, so you could just call us JBS. We are based in Tokyo, Japan. So we are a system integration company. We do like infrastructure, we do development, we do ERP. So we do what IT people need, everything. We do everything on that. So what we do, there's some numbers here, but I don't want to talk them deeply for all of them. But first, 17 means that we resell the Microsoft licenses ID among all the licenses in Japan. So we have 17 shares in Japan. And our employees, currently like 2,800 employees are in our company, but 76% our employees are engineers. So we're basically an engineering company. And also these other numbers are that we have a lot of specializations and we have a lot of certificates. So yeah, so we do work closely with Microsoft, yes.
Yeah, thank you. Great introduction. So perhaps let's start in terms of talking about the adoption journey. So, JBS certainly was one of the earliest partners as we think about, Asia and the adoption of Microsoft security solutions. I'd love to understand from you, what made you and your team make that strategic shift, and how did you think about approaching and integrating security into your existing Dynamics practice and your modern work offerings?
Okay, thank you. Our strategy for security is very simple. We just follow Microsoft everywhere we go. It's very easy. But it's half a joke, but half not joke, because we've been working with Microsoft since companies established. That was back in 1990, and we're working with Microsoft over 35 years. But thanks to Microsoft, we're still surviving as a company. So following Microsoft is not a joke. It's a good strategy. Well, back to the question, but I think our early security journey started with, it was back in 2015. That was when Microsoft launched EMS to the market. Mm-hmm. So That was, looking back, I thought that was the time when Microsoft jumped into the security market, so we thought we should follow it, right? So, and after that, Microsoft has launched a lot of good products like E5 and others, right? So I think, as you understand, there are a lot of security products and solutions in the market right now, but I think, E5 is the best one that stands out really well because it's a completely integrated package. Yeah. And as you know, there are a lot of Microsoft users in the world, so it really just naturally fits them using your software, right? And also, Microsoft keeps on telling us in the market that the identity is going to be the central key factor for the future security, right? And that means Entra ID, that's in the center of everything, right? So that's I think Microsoft is center of everything in the security market, and I heard from this Ignite or maybe before that, but some of the E5 components going to be put into Copilot, right? So, yeah, I think Microsoft is not a modern company. It's a security company. I think Microsoft's a security company. So that's why we're shifted our security.
I love that. Thank you. Thank you. So perhaps moving to the second question about living and being a frontier firm. Earlier Harrain talked about how agents, how organizations are really evolving to adopt in the era of AI. And we're all talking about becoming this frontier firm. And organizations are aspiring to be that. But you've done that. So could you perhaps share with us, how you've gone about that transformation?
Yeah, to tell you the truth, I don't want to tell you because it's a secret. So just keep it in this room. I'm just joking. What we do is we call it a real showcase approach. It's our own word, but what we do is it's simple. Before we sell it or if you make the offering, you just use it yourself. But just the main meaning of using is it's not just testing it. You have to introduce the product or solution into your company internally, and you have to use it as a user, right? So if you use it as a user, you can test it, you can learn from it, you can break it, fix it, and you can learn a lot from that, right? Yeah. So that's what we do. When we talk about the copilots, what we did was we started from all in the beginning. I told you that 2,800 employees are in the company, but we bought the license for all of them. I think that was the first company in Japan that we did. That's what we did. So we enforced the customers to use, our end users to use it. So if you use it, you can tell the customer from your own word. You can tell them a story, right? Yeah. What's good about it and what's bad about it, and you can tell the customer what it is. So. That's why we did it internally. That's what we did. So, right. That's what. So in that journey, we made a lot of training materials because we have to train the end users in the company, right? So we made firstly, as you can see in the slide, we made some a user guide called Copilot Navigation. That's Copilot Navi. We made that one. So. That's a user guide. The second one is called e-learning service called Copilot. It's a Copilot Academy own meeting. Copilot, right. We made e-learning services. And now what we're working on is service called AI Agent Factory. I have to explain this. We're going to make some AI agent templates ourselves. We're going to make it. And that means the customer doesn't have to make them themselves. Yeah. But we can give them as a service so they can use it. So customer doesn't have to make it themselves. So that's going to be a subscription service. That's what we do. So yeah, we're doing a lot of things. So what I want to tell you is that you should use it yourself, your real showcase approach.
Yeah. Like Judson said, drinking your own champagne, or in Japan, sake.
Yeah.
Nothing better than being able to cite a real example that is personal to yourself, right? So when we think about leveraging AI-driven security, how are you using our security tools such as Defender, Purview, and how are you thinking about this to enhance, customer trust and to really go out and deliver that proactive cyber defense?
Yeah, talking about AI for security, I think AI is already embedded into your all of your security software, entire stack. I think it's so from an operational point of view, it's very useful and it's very incredibly valuable because it reduces workloads, it cuts down the tasks that the team has to do. So it's a very really supports the team. It's very good. And among that, I think the endpoint security is one of the interests that customers have right now because of the ransomware attacks everywhere, right? So we've been using that for internally like more than 7 years. So we've been using it for a long time. So that means we have a lot of experiences and we have a lot of knowledge from that. So that's why we can make our own offering like managed security services. So that's what we do. So yeah, we have combined and made a lot of services with AI.
Brilliant.
And security.
Brilliant, thank you. I think go-to-market and growth strategies are really important for everyone to think about. So when you think about looking ahead, when you think about the future, what are the strategies, what are the resources that you've used from Microsoft that have really been, most impactful to you? And in terms of building your practice, in terms of thinking about planning for that multi-year profitability strategy and growth, could you share a little with everyone?
Yeah, of course. First one, I think the biggest advantage for us was that we had a chance to jump into the early adoption program.
Yeah.
That's very good, because we get to use and we get to test the new product in the early stages. So that will lead to creating a new offering at early stages. That was very good one. And another huge factor is that there is a program called Microsoft's Commerce Incentive Program. That was so good. Microsoft, of course, support us in a fund point of view, but not just that. Microsoft support us with a technical support. So they give us money and they give us support. They do both. That's everything that we need. So that was very helpful. So you have to use that. You have to utilize those programs. So we're going to continue to leverage this quickly.
I love that, and there's so many programs that are accessible. So thank you for making sure you leverage them all. So you've successfully you've built the security practice into your portfolio. You've achieved profitability. When you think about best practices, what can you share with the audience here? Like, what's the words you would leave them with to, we call it at Microsoft sometimes, the go-dos? Like, what are the gems you would leave?
Yeah, I think, as you can take a look in the slide, it says 4 key drivers, but I think I want to emphasize 2 of them. First one, I keep on saying this word, but it's a real showcase approach. You have to use it internally. You should use it, as I mentioned earlier, if you use it internally as a user, you get to know what works and what doesn't, right?
Yeah.
So for the what doesn't work part, you can fill the gap with your own offering, and you can make the own solution yourself, right? That's going to be your new offering to the customer. So combination of your Microsoft product and partner's solution, you can combine them together. That's going to perfectly fit your customer. So that's awesome, right? So that's what you should do. So real showcase, you should do that. You should do that, and you should use it as a user. You should do that. That's one. And secondly, of course, co-creation with Microsoft. Yeah, of course. As I mentioned in that previous question, we have to. There are a lot of good programs, so you have to utilize it. You get funds and you get support from Microsoft. That's really good. So these 2, real showcase and Microsoft co-creation with Microsoft. I think these 2 are the key points.
Lovely, thank you. Well, that was the last question I had for you, so appreciate your time. Any last words of wisdom that you want to leave the audience with?
Follow Microsoft.
Well, thank you so much for your partnership. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, that's absolutely fantastic. Thank you again. Really appreciate the partnership. And I hope that was helpful to everyone, just to give you all a couple of tips in terms of what a journey could look like for you and your organization. Just recognizing that everyone's at different places, in terms of security practice and maturity around that. So we spoke about some investments. So some very, very important things for you to take note of. These should not be new news to you. Hopefully it's not new news. If it is, congratulations. But we shared this all at start in July on what would be your left-hand side. So we spoke about E3, Microsoft Defender, the CSP 3-year SKUs. Please make sure you understand the investments that are tied around that. Please make sure you understand the workshops, the deployment accelerators, etc. However, we have got some new exciting things in market at the moment that have just come. So the first one is around Microsoft Defender and the Microsoft Purview suites for Business Premium, as well as the CSP 3-year SKUs. Please make sure you know where to find the details on that. There is an incentive guide link at the bottom there. You can get all the details there. Again, there's cloud security workshops that are available and funding supporting and surrounding that. And then Defender for Cloud Accelerator, and lastly, the Cloud Kicker. So again, the handy link is at the bottom there. So if you don't have it, just snap a quick picture. And then from a next step standpoint, we love the next steps. A couple of things for you to take advantage of. Probably the one that's not on the slide is use the product, live the experience, enable your teams with that, but accelerate the best practices and use the benefits that are there. Use the incentives, and please make sure you know where they are. Often what we find is when we look at benefit utilization, it's much lower than it should be. So please make sure you educate yourself on what is available. The other thing is around skilling. Such an incredibly important piece of the puzzle as we think about both sales skilling as well as technical skilling for your staff. We've got some wonderful, wonderful skilling programs that are available online. There's a lot of in-person skilling that's available as well. Again, both sales and both technical. For any of the partners from Asia, India, we will have a partner AI tour at the beginning of December. So keep an eye out for that. We have got partner AI tours in some markets that follow the broader AI tour tours, I guess. The next one is, number 3, is around getting your designations and specializations are really, really important. That's your badge to the game. Please make sure that you spend the time understanding what those mean and how to go about getting those. And then the last one, again, as we think about growing your business, leveraging those incentives, those drive towards co-selling opportunities. And we all know that we want to co-sell together because that's when the magic happens, is when we show up as one team in front of our customers. So we've got a great take action slide with, again, lots of resources for everyone here. So I'm glad to see lots of cameras up. 3 key pillars around this. Number 1 is get ready. So if you're not in the Microsoft AI Cloud and Partner Program, please make sure that step 1 is click on that link and follow the steps to get yourself set up. We spoke about the technical and the sales skilling. Ensure that you have that. And then as we think about demonstrating expertise, make sure that you're able to do that. And as I mentioned, the ticket to the game, or the badge to the game, is those designations and those specializations. That's what customers are looking for. That's the badge that they really want to see when they're engaging with partners, because that's essentially the trust signal. Create demand. There's some amazing tools. I hope you are all aware of these tools that are available. I'd just love to see a show of hands. Does everyone know what Spark is? Cloud Ascent? Not enough hands, not enough hands. Lighthouse. So these are tools that you will have access to customer propensity data of customers that you work with. They will give you insights in terms of what is the next logical purchase that your customers are likely to make. So again, please make sure these tools all show up through the Microsoft Partner Center. but you've got to be registered as part of the Microsoft AI Partner Center in the partner program. So please, we've got great lead opportunity that shows up there. There's amazing go-to-market material for you, campaign in a box. We spoke about the success that JBS is having on the go-to-market front. These are ready-to-use tools and kits for you. Pick them up, use them, pop your logo on, and get going. Such cool stuff there. And then lastly is grow your business. We're all here at the end of the day for profit, right? We're all businesses. We've got people that we need to keep employed. Make sure you know where those incentives are, where those programs are that you can leverage, those workshops, etc. Make sure you know how to access them and leverage them. We're leaving money on the table, and that's the worst thing we can do from an incentive program. And Chantal's nodding furiously over there. So please make sure we are doing that. Start conversations. We've got things like envisioning workshops. Please make sure you use all these fantastic tools. So we've got 9 minutes and 15 seconds left, and we have got time for Q&A. So I would love to invite Harrain back up onto stage, because you're going to get the tricky questions, I'm quite sure. And would you like to join us as well in case there's any questions specifically to JBS? Naohiro, please join us.
You can stand.
And please, audience, this is your time we've got a very big mic there, I think. But any questions from the audience on topics that you may be interested in that we may not have touched on? Please don't be shy.
There's a hand back there.
Oh, the hand back there. Could you come up? Do we have a roaming mic by chance?
I'm pretty loud. Can you hear me?
Could you stand?
Yeah, sure.
And perhaps introduce yourself?
Crystal Gerald. So I'm from Heartland Business Systems, HBS. So it's pretty funny that your roadmap's up there. It was really great. Thank you. MISA and the investment in MISA and taking it to the next level.
You talking to that?
Oh God. Okay. Can you talk to me about the MISA program and like your investment of getting into it, the benefits as a partner, being in it, what that investment looks like in engagement continuing with Microsoft?
MISA.
That's the security program that you're part of. You may not have the visibility on that one. Could we circle back with you and perhaps grab your email address on that one? That would be handy. Jess, could you grab her email address? Thank you. Any other questions? I'm sorry, we can't see. The lights are really bright, so please don't be shy. In the back there.
Start your security practice. What would you focus on first? Would it be identity, endpoints? Like, what would your key focus area be?
Who's the question for? Would you like to take that, Harrain?
I have a perspective, and then if you have one, please jump in. And I may be a little biased, but I don't think it's a biased view. I think it's just based on maturity. So as I mentioned earlier, the journey we started 2 years ago was with 𝗦𝗽𝗀 Copilot. So I think one of the simplest workloads to go secure is 𝗦𝗽𝗀 Copilot using Purview for data security. If you were to start the practice, that's a good place to start. And the reason I would say, if I think about the opportunities, there's 3 of them. One is 𝗦𝗽𝗀 Copilot, and how do you secure that with data security. The second is building agents with Copilot Studio, and how do you secure that. And then the third is building AI apps and agents with Foundry, and how do you secure that. So of the 3, I would say that the lowest hanging fruit is 𝗦𝗽𝗀 Copilot. It's also the most mature motion that we have with the field. It's been executing for over a year at this point. So that would be my 2 cents.
Great.
So.
Yeah, I think I'm going to follow my Microsoft.
Cool. A question back there. Right back there.
Could you give us some insights for large enterprise customers, right? So you guys obviously have a very strong security stack and posture in the marketplace, but key areas of competition and where you would like to see more penetration in the enterprise space and how?
Yeah, I can take it. Yeah, no, great question. So maybe I'll start with just summarizing, how I think about our presence in the market to begin with. So we compete in the data security space. That one is, I'd say, fairly open when it comes particularly to protecting Microsoft 365 and that estate. Purview oftentimes is the default solution, so there's not a whole lot of competition over there. Where the competition heats up is where we've got threat protection and posture, and so we partner with and we compete with as a company, organizations like Palo Alto Networks, and CrowdStrike, but we have a pretty, strong solution over there. We've been in the market a long time. All our security solutions, I would say, are quite mature. It's not like we're playing catch up in any one of them. In particular for Defender, I would say, our threat intelligence signals, we process about 100 trillion now threat signals a day. And we have this unique perspective because of it. And so even in the market, several of our competitors end up using our threat signals. We obviously share threat signals. That's just the nature of the space. But we have a very, very strong position over there. And then identity and access, again, Entra has been around for a long time. Prior to Entra, it was known as Azure Active Directory and all of that. But very, very mature products. And so, and we now publicly have shared there's over 1 billion users authenticating with Entra. That's about 1/8 of the planet's population. So it's quite amazing. And then Intune's been around for a while. So I think the portfolio is quite robust. Obviously, customers have heterogeneous environments, and so they might use one particular vendor for threat protection, another vendor for identity. One of the things we like to say is when we do go to market, we like to talk about the portfolio as a whole, and we work really, really hard to make sure our products work well together. Because the nature of security is that if your signals are in silos and your investigations are in silos, you're going to have gaps and you're going to miss things. So we think we've got some systemic advantages. Of course, we'll compete with the other sort of individual vendors, when we need to, and we'll partner with them when we need to as well. So, that's how I would sort of position what we're doing.
Great, thank you. One last question.
Hi. With enterprise customers, they have various levels of maturity and focus on data security and governance historically. So in your conversations with customers, are you seeing, this AI opportunity and agentic focus as a path for increased adoption and focus in security and governance?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and that signal is so loud. One of the things I would say thematically that comes through quite consistently, and I do spend time hosting CISO roundtables, the Chief Security Officer roundtables. Oftentimes in those roundtables, we'll have risk management leaders in there, so folks that think about compliance and privacy and all of that. And then oftentimes we'll occasionally also get chief data officers or data leaders in the room as well who are worried about data sovereignty and privacy and those types of things. And what's been fascinating, I would say, over the last 2 years is the dynamic I see is you've got the board saying to the CEO, what's your AI transformation strategy? And the CEO is working with his C-suite and leadership team to say, okay, we've got to figure out the strategy, we've got to go build a plan. And then you've got the CIO and the chief security officer and the risk leaders and the privacy officers all trying to figure out how do we become enablers. We don't want to be the ones that are saying, no, slow down. We want to be enablers. And so they're coming into the conversation saying, I'm being asked to be an enabler here. What do I need to worry about? How do I even think about risk? And that opens up the door to talk about risk in a much more holistic way. And of course, very much front and center to that is data security risk and the governance risk and all of that. So that's one piece. And then the other piece I'll say is that, like I said earlier, everyone has questions on regulations and compliance. And so that's been also quite consistent in terms of starting a conversation from that perspective to say, hey, where are you at on your journey around AI regulations? How can we help? Huge need over there. And so if you're a partner, I would say definitely those are some ways to approach it. Yeah.
Brilliant, thank you. Well, thank you for the questions and making the session interactive. One last slide. Please, we love feedback, it's a gift. Please make sure that you give us some feedback on this session. We'd love to know, other topics you'd love to hear about and learn about, and any other feedback too. So appreciate your time. Thank you very much.